Kremlin's pandemic. I can't but stand astonished at the picture of Putin's Russia selflessly and boldly plunging into the coronavirus quagmire, at the instruction of spineless government. Less than 3 days since the authorities drove Russians to work, having eased the self-isolation regime that none of the Russian officials dared to name, quarantine. The daily statistics of the COVID-19 incidence growth rate suddenly saw a decline. For example, Moscow reported its lowest infection growth rate from May 1, 4,703 cases. In other words, the country is recovering, and that miraculous recovery is being observed right after Putin allowed citizens to leave their homes. A striking coincidence, indeed. Especially given the fact that just a few days ago the stats went off scale. But there's more. In another striking coincidence, today's report said Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin returned to work. So here's another wonderful narrative claiming that things aren't that scary after all. The elite are back to work. While the Kremlin's talking head Dmitry Peskov will also be back on its feet soon. So yeah, why don't you, people, just get back to work for the benefit of an empire that's been recording billions in losses daily since quarantine start? And if someone gets sick while working zealously, they will be cured by the world's best healthcare system, which reports the lowest COVID-19 mortality rate among patients but the greatest number of deaths among medics. Moreover, even if you're connected to a working ventilator, this doesn't guarantee that you won't end up burning alive once it malfunctions. So, it appears the Kremlin, while being unable to keep Russians in self-isolation for too long, while watching the economy steadily roll down into the abyss, decided to play another game of Russian roulette of lies. The thing is though that it's the Kremlin who could ultimately end up getting that one bullet in the drum. Moreover, amid the coronavirus pandemic raging across Putin's Russia, it seems that the drum is fully charged. In this context, it would be appropriate to recommend that the countries that are now lifting quarantine lockdowns make a special exception for Putin's Russia. They should keep in place travel bans to Putin's Russia and also bar Russians from crossing in. Otherwise, it is Putin's Russia now turning into a coronavirus cesspool that could become a catalyst for the second coronavirus wave in a recovering world.